I want also to thank the principals, members of the coalition government, the parliament, and the people of Kenya for, in the holding of the referendum, in adopting and promulgating the new transformational constitution of Kenya. During the workings of the NDR Forum, and even after the realization of the coalition political dispensation and the operationalization of the parliamentary mandate, I, and I'm sure very many people in Eastern Africa, wondered whether a new constitution of Kenya would emerge. Well, it has come into being. Some will say desultorily, but as we have seen in the last 2 days, it is very much at work. The Swahili have a saying, hayawi hayawi yamekuwa. Congratulations to the people of Kenya, to their government, to their parliament, and to the principals. You have shown the way. You have proved that it can be done. And I have a special reason to say this because we in Tanzania have just initiated the process to write a new constitution. And after your experience, we will not have to reinvent the wheel of constitution making. So thank you very much. It is not for me to summarize the proceedings or to project the expectations of the conference. Every panel has had its moderators and commentators, and they have discharged this task well. But as this is the only time I take the floor, I crave your indulgence to be heard briefly as I think aloud through some of the issues that have arisen. One, the Constitution. In my view, it embodies the values and aspirations of a sovereign people, all the people. It must serve all without discrimination. It must be upheld, protected, and defended by all political and civil service officialdom, leadership, and every citizen of the nation. It must be an instrument not only of transformational change, but especially for the young modern state, it must be an agent of development. I endorse the often stated view during this conference that it must be implemented wholeheartedly and not faint-heartedly. Everyone must be subject to the rule of law. No citizen, however high or low, is above the law. In the light of the framework and social environment of colonial times, the post-independence constitutions nurtured impunity. In the new dawn, impunity must be vigorously eschewed. The Constitution, however, must be accompanied by reforms. They are a necessary accompaniment, and we in the forum recognize this by itemizing Agenda 4, in which we called for consideration of long-term issues: land reform, poverty and inequality, unemployment, national cohesion and unity, to mention only a few. But we recognized, and I plead that we recognized, that realizing solutions to these issues will not be an instantaneous matter. Solutions will be found in a staggered motion. We must prioritize the reforms. We can't do everything before the elections. One of the problems of African development, in hindsight now I say, is that by trying to do everything in terms of solving problems all the time at once, we spread our energies thin and our results melt away. So I plead, prioritize which ones are instrumental for a successful election and which ones will take time to realize. Nation building. Nation building truly starts with independence. The colonial ruler united us in our oppression. Our struggle to rid ourselves of the colonial rulers left us no time to highlight tribe, race, religious, or territorial differences. The exercise of new power upon independence initiated rivalries in the use of that power. The use on land ownership, on natural resources exploitation, on the use of water resources, etc., etc. A new state vision and mission was called for and has been adopted almost universally in sub-Saharan Africa. Countries speak of Vision 2020, 2025, 2030, and some even 2050. These definitions of development and modernizations have been agreed. Some are called ideologies. In my country, it was called Ujamaa. In other places, it's called Ubuntu. Others call it the soul of the nation. Others call it the foundation of the nation. And yet, as we have heard in these 2 days, others think these constitute the elements, the composite elements of a DNA of the nation. But nation building is not a one-generation, half-century process. It is protracted and evolutionary. Let us remember that even the British have their Welsh and Scottish nationalists, and look at Belgium with their Walloons, and Spain. And did not someone draw our attention during these past 2 days to the immediate past history of the Balkans? So I say, don't let the problems overwhelm us, and don't let us hasten to decree unity and nationhood. I know for a fact that for the Mombasa coastal sovereign seekers, there are Zanzibar sovereign seekers in the United Republic of Tanzania. So don't be frightened. Devolution. Devolution reduces central power and shares responsibility for inducing deep employment. The cost is ostensibly huge. There are variations of local authority administrations and potential areas of concurrent and conflict jurisdictions abound. For example, on the question of security, the movement of goods, and so on. This calls for clear delineations of powers and space, and an appellate route leading to decisive resolution of claims must be spelled out with the authority of the law. I want also to thank the principals, members of the coalition government, the parliament, and the people of Kenya for, in the holding of the referendum, in adopting and promulgating the new transformational constitution of Kenya. During the workings of the NDR Forum, and even after the realization of the coalition political dispensation and the operationalization of the parliamentary mandate, I, and I'm sure very many people in Eastern Africa, wondered whether a new constitution of Kenya would emerge. Well, it has come into being. Some will say desultorily, but as we have seen in the last 2 days, it is very much at work. The Swahili have a saying, hayawi hayawi yamekuwa. Congratulations to the people of Kenya, to their government, to their parliament, and to the principals.